Hi everyone, and a warm welcome to my presentation called Fostering Systemic Change with Mentoring, a European Approach. This presentation is part of the session Mentoring for Social Inclusion in Turbulent Times. My name is Fiona SOLER, and I am an international consultant supporting the public, the private, and the non-profit sector in implementing and improving mentoring programs, policies, and solutions. I consider myself as being a fearless advocate for mentoring, and I have been working since 2015 promoting and developing mentoring programs in Europe, fostering long-lasting mentoring relationships for a larger audience. First of all, why are we talking about mentoring today? Well, let me tell you that mentoring is a powerful way of lending support to a young person or an adult. Mentoring connects people over an extended period of time, developing mutual benefits for those involved. The goal is to help the mentee grow autonomously and successfully, adapting to their specific needs in every step of the way. And to ensure this positive or successful outcome, the pair, the mentor and the mentee, acts within a framework, and it's supported by a supervising staff who trains, who follows, who evaluates the mentor and the mentee. I would say that mentoring is a tailor-made solution, an individual approach to address targeted goals and needs. And then you can ask yourself, how can this specific approach, this individual and targeted approach, can generate a systemic change? Well, growing inequities manifest as gaps in opportunity, networks, access to adult relationship outside of families. And we have seen governments, especially in the past 2 years, struggle to reduce social inequality and the isolation of the most vulnerable citizens. In this context, I truly believe that mentoring unites us. Mentoring encourages solidarity, mutual aid, and strengthens social ties. It is a key response to this issue. We know that relationships are powerful tools. They bring us together, they help us navigate onto the unknown, and creates greater connections and opportunities. I strongly believe in mentoring as a powerful tool to promote diversity, social inclusion, and moreover, human social change. Through this video, I want to present how the individual positive impact of mentoring in a mentee and in a mentor can create a butterfly effect and foster systemic change. We can even push it forward and say that through mentoring, the human face of history is shared with the next generation. And we see how mentoring relationships sustain the effort to build and expand civil rights and human rights through working for social change. So what happened in Europe regarding mentoring in the past years? A lot of things, let me tell you. Mentoring has been a part of the development of European civil society for more than 20 years now. In the past decade, more and more mentoring programs emerge. As practice and evidence show, mentoring is a unique instrument that can be connected to a diversity of European, national, and regional challenges and priorities. And as I was saying, it works under the right conditions for different topics, target groups, goals, and organizations. Mentoring empowers people and focuses on the individual goals of mentors and mentees. Mentoring connects and closes also the gap between the generations and gets together individuals from different social backgrounds and ethnic groups. All these leading to a better integration of migrants, higher educational levels of young people, new entrepreneurial initiatives, and more inclusive societies. We have witnessed the undoubted need of mentoring and the power of mentoring in the past year during the COVID-19 outbreak. There have been numerous examples that mentoring services are needed now more than ever. In these hard times of social distancing across Europe, mentoring organizations have made great efforts to keep their programs alive and to expand their work. The achievement of mentors with their mentees have been outstanding. Despite the requirement for physical separation, thousands of mentors from all over Europe stayed connected to their mentees with the help of online tools and all the staff from the organizations. All people in need should know that mentoring practitioners and mentors stay behind them when they feel lonely, scared, and isolated. All of this brings Europe's youth at least one step closer to a higher quality of education, training, and long life learning that improves social inclusion and counteracts social seclusion, which in turn provides a better transition from education to a labor force or higher education and can thus bring along a high level of employment. So you see here already how can mentoring impact positively and foster systemic change. Inspired by the large impact that mentoring relationships have on individuals, different member states are introducing national campaigns and actions to encourage mentoring organizations to scale up their services. With this presentation, I want to give you two detailed examples of mentoring programs and things that have happened in Europe and that I've been involved in. I had the chance to work on one initiative in France called One Youth, One Mentor, launched by the government and more specifically by President Macron in March 2021 as a private-public collaboration from non-profit organizations, companies, corporations, and government in order to develop mentoring actions. And the second one, the Mentoring Action Plan, launched by the Spanish Catalan government as part of the COVID recovery strategy for youth in secondary education. First of all, how France built a bottom-up public policy around mentoring. Well, when COVID hit France, two main problems emerged as the same happened in all over Europe. Dramatic school dropout, and families felt helpless when trying to get involved in their kids' education. So mentoring organizations started to offer their services, and together the main 8 mentoring French organizations decided to collectively join their efforts to address a bigger problem and design a coordinated solution to reach out to young people in need and their families. Computers were distributed all over France and a mentoring online platform was created in less than a week. From the specific need, the individual need of each young person, the collective group gave a collective answer for a collective problem and a social problem, which was dramatic school dropout. Government paid for the initiative on half of it and got curious on how those 8 mentoring organizations that had never worked before together will manage to effectively work together. And the government realized that because these organizations had a common goal and that together they could be stronger, government trusted this organization, and this organization made his voice here louder and could reach out to more youth. So the 8 non-profit organization created a grassroots organization that later on became a non-profit organization itself, called today the Collectif Mentorat. Through the political and social impact from the 8 mentoring organizations and all the advocacy work, the government, and more specifically President Macron, decided to invest in 2021 16 million euros to support and develop mentoring all over France. You would understand that this announcement changed the ecosystem of mentoring overnight. Mentoring became the solution to go to when addressing social matters, and government had found a gem, and non-profit have found the pot of gold. In a year, the Collectif Mentorat gained 60 members and mentored more than 100,000 kids all over France, still running. There are several outcomes I want to share with you. The first of all is that there has been a strategic plan to advocate for a right to mentoring, and this strategic plan was built collectively with the 8 mentoring organizations. And the fact that there was a common voice and a common goal helped to install this mentoring policy. The second is that mentoring movement was defended and therefore expanded thanks to the collective effort. Mentoring practitioners were supported to develop high-quality mentoring programs, and at the end, mentoring has become a recognized expertise. You can see jobs have changed. A lot of jobs opportunities have opened around mentoring, and we have created collective vocabulary and a singularity from mentoring. And then I would say that with the online platform run by the Collectif Mentorat, One Youth, One Mentor.fr, Un Jeune, Un Mentor.fr, every young person who wants to be mentored and every person who wants to become a mentor can sign up to be put in touch with a mentoring organization that matches their profile. So we are generating a huge ecosystem around mentoring where needs and when the needs meets the offer. The other aspect is that new mentoring programs also have emerged. Some organizations wanting to seize the opportunity, and therefore quality control has need to be established and help the organizations to read through the whole offer. Let me explain. With these 16 millions, a lot of opportunities have opened, and then stakeholders, mentors, mentees needed guidance to navigate through the service offered. So this here is when quality needs to be controlled and certified in order also to minimize the damage and the negative impact from mentoring programs that would not be certified. And the last thing I would say is that the government has invested a lot in mentoring, but maybe the important aspect is that we need to continue work with the government in order to be sure that the government doesn't pass on to the non-profit organization and the non-profit sector part of his responsibility as a welfare state as we know it in France. This is for the French example. Let me tell you a little bit more of the Catalan example and how the Catalan government engaged a COVID recovery strategy with mentoring. Right after the first COVID crisis, the Catalan government observed the same problem regarding school attendance and social inequalities around young people and their families. They identified mentoring as a suitable solution and decided to engage a recovery strategic plan with several actions. One of the actions named in this strategic plan was mentoring. The implementation went very differently than in France. I was also involved in the organization and implementation of this strategic plan, and I still am. The implementation went very differently. Instead of financing directly the mentoring organizations or the umbrella organizations for mentoring in Spain, government moved the authority to the local governments, and each city hall decided how they wanted to invest the money that was given for the strategic plan, being mentoring one of the options, but not a mandatory option. Local mentoring organizations started to knock on the door and offer their services. and the negotiation was not easy. Not all the time there was a good understanding of what mentoring was and what was the offer it was given by the organization. So, at some point, trust was broken, and because of past conflicts between the authorities, it was harder to implement mentoring programs, and some mentoring organizations lost some opportunities. This kind of implementation has allowed mentoring organizations to expand to new territories and to advocate for mentoring through their actions, but it has been very hard to coordinate the common efforts, sometimes because of the slow administrative process or because of political reasons. And so these two examples, very different from one another, show that mentoring can be a part of a bottom-up public policy and that the positive impact of mentoring can be shared for a large group of people in need. So if we build a collective offer, that we have a common goal and that we speak the same language and that we build an ecosystem with all the main stakeholders involved, we could start building a more large impact, and we could bring mentoring as a right to everyone who needs it. And I would say that every young person who needs a mentor must be able to easily find one where and when they need it, that the commitment of mentors and the skills they gain from mentoring must be acknowledged, and that organizations that rally and oversee thousands of mentors and young people must continue to be supported in order to generate this systemic change. So with mentoring, how can we foster systemic change? With mentoring, we empower citizens to be aware of their social inequalities and to be more comfortable with diversity, to be willing to help their neighbors, as COVID showed us a huge waves of solidarity. So I truly believe that when we mentor a kid, we are mentoring the future. We are helping someone grow. We're guiding someone to be a better person, to have a better tomorrow. And this person will always remember the path that she went through, that person, and that we want to give back to the community what this mentor gave him. So I really believe in this virtuous circle where mentees give back what mentors gave them, becoming themselves mentors, especially if we are in a situation where mentoring is accessible for everyone and where the skills are acknowledged and where mentoring organizations are supported. We can generate this change. We can create this educational hub, the mentoring hub, with all the organizations involved, with the schools involved, the local communities, the governments, the stakeholders, the corporations, a virtuous circle where we want to give back to the community what mentoring gave us. And here is where I do believe that with these two mentoring examples of public policies, we can create, we can foster, we can generate systemic change with mentoring. Well, this was just some of my ideas that I shared with you regarding these two European examples that I'm involved in, and I hope to see you on March 21st and keep elaborating on that. Thanks. Bye.